And as an update, nobody has won the mystery challenge from episode 8. As usual, there will be clues, updates, and videos available only on the website at www.abodylyingthere.com. Due to Google rankings, the best way to find it is go to the very top of the address bar in your browser and manually type in www.abodylyingthere.com. The other way to find it is simply go to the Facebook page, A Body Lying There, and follow the homepage link from there. We continue where we left off.
And we have a few irrefutable facts. You were Yarmolenko on the banks of the Catawba River. She is dead from asphyxiation. She is murdered. She's murdered with items that she brought there with her. Those are facts.
But in any case, it says she was seen there around 10:50. The exact terminology used was Yarmolenko stops at Jackson's job at 10:50 a.m. And that was taking 3 minutes longer on 49 because essentially we went from the credit unions just right across the street. So it's basically the same distance. When we went from the credit union to the Goodwill, it took 8 minutes, and then returning at from 10:35 at the Goodwill to here, it took 11 minutes, which put us at 10:35, 10:46. So we got here even 4 minutes early, taking 3 minutes longer than it took to get there, which means we were traveling pretty slow. But we're still early here, 4 minutes.
What's going on here? I mean, well, wait a minute. Does that fit, or does that just like not fit at all?
So here we sit until about 10:50. How did they know it was 10:50? Good question. She came in, bought something, or dropped off a gift. She was there for just a few minutes, I believe. So if we take from 10:50, then we want to travel. The next place she was seen was a little bit after 10 at the YMCA. We'll take off out of here at 10:50. That would have been
And a lot of times, the vast majority of murders, this not being one of them, are pretty straightforward. Someone was robbing someone. There's an old defense attorney in Toledo, Ohio, where I worked.
She could have gotten here at 10:47 and spent a few minutes and then left at 10:50. We don't really know, but we're taking an approximate route. We know that from here, we're going to get back on University Boulevard and take 85 all the way to Stowe Family YMCA.
Were any of these doors open when they found her?
The jet skiers claim that both the doors were open. That means when we exit out of here, we'll probably have to do a U-turn, something like that. Coming up on 1050. Put it in reverse.
A lot of times, getting at the truth is not a straight line. It's not really easy. It's not
We're looking.
These were items that were not brought to the scene.
Or that were not brought to the scene, right?
That insinuates his disorganizing his other daily activities too. Lack of education, menial work, unemployment. So that dictates other type of things in his life also.
Well, it needs to start with nobody having a theory at all. You don't have a theory. You have to lie.
Quick battery change there, so that put us about a minute behind. We take a direct route out of here, do a U-turn.
We like to talk to our knowns and then we work our way back in. Boyfriends, family, friends. It's a very deliberate process on their part.
Jeremy, you're his ex-boyfriend.
They just asked me some questions. And of course, like where I was.
He was quickly cleared.
You ever want the light to turn green to start doing something that's important? Works every time.
Attention to detail is everything.
We do a U-turn. I don't see that a U-turn is prohibited, so I think we're okay there. And we're off. We're going back down University Boulevard, Highway 49. Just to our left is where Jackson's Java was, where we just were. Just to our right is Chancellor's Place, where the SCCU credit union is. So that's an indication of how close those two places were. We proceed past them. Come up to a red light. It was 10:50. We left Jackson's Java. Had to do a quick battery change. So we lost a minute there, but we're back on the road there. That would have just made, we'll just, subtract a minute.
I was in class all day long. We were able to quickly eliminate all of those people. Everyone had proof of where they were that day.
But the last day of her life offer clues as to how she ended up on that muddy riverbank. Her records showed she'd been to the bank, deposited money just after 10 a.m.
And we were able to get surveillance videos of her there. Showed her alone.
Just 15 minutes after stopping at the bank, here was Ira again. Surveillance video at a Goodwill store just off campus. She gave away clothes, chatted briefly with an employee. Seemed not to be worried about him, not upset, not unhappy.
Highway 49 runs right into Interstate 85.
Just alone in her car, running errands. 30 minutes later, 20 miles away, there she was again. in this surveillance video from a YMCA parking lot across the river from the campus. That's her in her car, driving toward the river. Had to be her, said Detective Terry.
We could tell that there was a very small person driving the car. It appeared to be a white female driving the car.
It was just after 11 a.m. It was the last image ever captured of Ira Yarmolenko alive. So apparently Ira arrived at the Catawba River alone.
Another thing you have to consider too is the budget things they were talking about them coming out of the trunk.
Yeah.
Coming up on North Tryon Street.
How you going to restrain a victim and use a car key to open the trunk and get those things out at the same time with just one person?
Well, so you would think that might have been two people
Might have been two people
involved in that.
That's right.
That's interesting.
To that particular location is unusual.
Investigators are trying to piece together the timeline after Yarmolenko left campus. We know that she stopped at a credit union and then made a quick pit stop at Jackson's Java in University City. How she was found 35 miles away in Gaston County is troubling investigators. The Yarmolenko family is outraged. Irina
This newly released surveillance video shows Ira Yarmolenko dropping off clothes and other goods at the University area Goodwill. Less than 2.5 hours later, her body was found next to her car on the banks of the Catawba River, dead from asphyxiation.
And she was looking straight up at the sky, and the sun was just beaming down on her face. That's just something I won't forget, ever.
When Yarmolenko drove away from Goodwill, she went to Jackson's Java coffee shop to visit with coworkers.
How do we know that she wasn't the passenger and that somebody killed her and put her there?
Her feet are down at this end, and her head is up where your feet are right here.
Investigators know someone drove the car down the embankment.
You can see where the front wheels of the vehicle were actually in motion.
Her keys were out further uphill, and the driver and back passenger doors of her car both open. Cops are still trying to figure out how she got there. We know earlier in the day, Ira took an exam, then went to the ATM machine, and then to Jackson Java, where she worked but wasn't working that day, and finally down the road to make a donation at Goodwill. The mystery about what happened to Ira after that has many students feeling uneasy.
We are on 85 south, heading towards Mount Holly. I would say we're averaging probably going to be averaging about 65, 70 miles an hour. If she was by herself out, you know, heading this way, I presume that she's doing about the speed limit.
What is it we're assuming? Are we assuming she drove herself? It's reasonable to assume that she drove herself there. We don't really know that.
I'm really nervous about night classes. I have to take them, but I always walk out in a group.
I think it's made me a lot more aware of my surroundings. I used to go everywhere by myself.
If somebody had abducted her and was holding her at knife point or something like that, then they would obviously not want her to be speeding. So we're going to lock the speed limit at 70 miles an hour.
What if somebody else drove her there?
And I never really thought twice about it.
Police aren't sure just yet how Ira ended up in Gaston County, but they are sure about one thing.
But I know someone caused her death.
in the coming days she is laid to rest, while detectives speak to those who last saw her, piecing together her final steps.
This video is to represent the timeline for Miss Irina Yarmolenko.
Detectives record this timeline video.
Ira spent the morning running errands. She went to the credit union, then she went to the Goodwill.
A security camera catches her donating several bags of clothing.
And then she went to Jackson's Java, which was a coffee shop where she worked.
It takes approximately 5 minutes and 50 seconds to drive to Jackson's Java from Louisville.
And from there to the Catawba River is about a 19-minute drive.
This is the last documented moment of Ira's life. A grainy video of her car driving through the parking lot of a YMCA, about half a mile from the embankment where her car was found. Police study it, searching for any sign of another person with her. But the video is so unclear, police can't tell. So they assume Detectives record this timeline video.
This video is to represent the timeline for Miss Irina Yarmolenko. It takes approximately 5 minutes and 50 seconds to drive to Jackson's Java from.
We assume that she was killed in the driver's seat.
Detectives record this timeline video.
So we assume that she drove there alone.
This video is to represent the timeline for Miss Irina Yarmolenko.
How do we know that? We know somebody went in the passenger seat. Somebody went in the back seat.
It takes approximately 5 minutes and 50 seconds from Goodwill.
What is it we're assuming?
It was a seemingly normal and beautiful May Day in 2008, the last day Ira Yarmolenko was seen alive. It was exam week at UNC Charlotte when Ira stepped on campus for the last time, May 5th. The 20-year-old sophomore started her day taking an exam, then spent the rest of the morning running errands. Investigators say Ira stopped at a credit union. Then less than 20 minutes later, security camera footage shows her dropping off several bags of donations at the Goodwill on University City Boulevard. It was around 10:50 when she stopped at Jackson's Java coffee shop where she worked near campus. Then she drove to the Catawba River, 20 miles away, where police say she was going to work on a photography project.
I think that she was looking for a pretty spot to take pictures at.
Around 1:15 p.m., two people on jet skis saw Ira's body on the banks of the river in Mount Holly near the Stowe Family YMCA just north of the I-85 bridge.
I'm above her on the Catawba River. Above the I-85 bridge.
This is the path that she would have taken. We know that. No other way to get from the university to Mount Holly other than this path. I'm sure you could do something crazy and find some back roads.
What's going on here? I mean, well, wait a minute. Does that fit, or does that just like not fit at all? What's going on here? I mean, well, wait a minute. Does that fit, or does that just like not fit at all?
It's the video of Ira donating items at the Goodwill that morning. She gets out of the front seat, opens the back door, and first pulls out a duffel bag that has straps. The attendant places the straps around his left forearm and waits for Ira to retrieve the second item, which was a large burlap bag that appeared to be half to 3/4 full. The attendant grabs the bag and the duffel bag and places them both in front of the Dropbox bin. Likely he placed them in front of the Dropbox bin and not in a bin because they contained other items that he had to separate later on. She then reaches back into the car and pulls out 3 items.
Likely would have been
just keeping up with traffic. Really. It's hard to see the forest through the trees. Where we going? What we going? What we going? What we going? What we going? Today is not only May 5, coincidentally unimportant day in this story, but tonight is also a full moon. But what do we care? It's 11 o'clock in the morning, remember? We started at the bank. From there to the Goodwill, it took us 11 minutes. From the Goodwill to Jackson's Java, it took us 11 minutes. The pace was casual. It may seem like no progress has been made, that time is slipping by. But remember the words of Dr. Watson.
A lot of times, getting at the truth is not a straight line. It's not really easy.
Before this day is over, I promise you, there will be revelations. If you're following the clues online, www.abodylyingthere.com, it may not be a surprise. As you can see, Monday morning traffic on the highway, it's not bad. She took this route. We know the timeline approximately. There probably wouldn't have been a big traffic jam anywhere. No major accidents, things like that. Pretty much a direct route on a day where the traffic, this is Monday morning, probably would look very similar to this. Here, this is spring when it happened. It was May and students were moving out, so it was transitional period for the amount of students that were in the area. Now we're going to take, that's a little bit early. We want to take 273, I think it's Highway 273 or something like that. Goes right into Mount Holly. A little bit of traffic here, but not too bad. 10:50. Now keep in mind that it's already 12 minutes past 11. And we're doing pretty much 11 or 70 miles an hour the whole way. Running into a little bit of traffic, but she was seen on a surveillance camera. Here we're coming up on the Mount Holly exit, 273. Would have pulled off this exit. She then reaches back into the car and pulls out 3 items in one motion, and this is difficult to follow. She has 2 items in her left hand. The first is rather peculiar, but why? The second is another bag. She appears to hand both of those items to the attendant in one motion. He essentially takes both of those items in his right hand and cushions them against the right side of his body to support them while he waits for the third item that Ira has, which is a small purse with a long strap that she has draped around her left forearm. She takes her right hand and lifts up that purse, which frees the strap from her left forearm, and she takes her left hand now, grabs the strap, and then hands it to the attendant, who also places it. And we are just coming to YMCA Drive. Should be taking a right here. Around his left forearm and then turns towards the Dropbox bin. As he's turning towards the Dropbox bin, the 2 items that are cushioned against his body on his right side, he separates those 2 using his left hand. Okay. By the time he's facing the Dropbox bin, come down this way. He takes those 2 items, first one, then the other, and places them atop the Dropbox bin on top of all the other items in the bin. Finally, he takes the small purse with the long strap that was originally draped around his left forearm and uses his right hand. Came down this way. According to the timestamps on the video, down this way. But in any case, it's 11/16/07. We can get the timestamps on the video. We've got 2 pictures, one coming in, one coming out. These were pictures that were isolated from a video. Grabs that bag from his left forearm and places it in the Dropbox bin as well. Note, all of these items must have been empty. Otherwise, they would have been placed on the ground for later inspection and separation, just like the first 2 items, the duffel bag and the large burlap bag that contain items that were to be separated out later.